But even that, you can start to miss the point. The point is, Jesus saying the issue is not murder, the issue is anger. Okay, now my question is, how are you doing with your anger? Because if you want sick, bad goodness, it's not violence that we first have to raise questions about. It's anger. Now, I'm with a different. I'm in a different church or with a different church group every weekend of the year, and I can assure you that Christians are some of the angriest people I know. And you ask me, what are they angry about? Well, the answer is yes. They are just angry. And the plain fact of the matter is, we live in a world that is insane, and we have taken that insanity as normalcy. I was getting ready to teach this text. I'm also teaching this semester a huge freshman Bible class, just general education. I got all sorts of students in there. I got students in there who don't know what a chapter and a verse is. Some who didn't have a Bible when they came in. And so here I am, I'm teaching the Sermon on the Mount to these folks, and I'm doing everything I can think of to try to get them to hear the Word. And so I'm thinking about how am I going to teach this text, and as I come in, I see a student sit at the back, and I go over and I sit down by him. I'm there a little early, and he is too. And I said, "Can you act?" He says, "No, why?" And I said, "Well, I need a student who can act like they are really angry with me." And he decided that wasn't such a stretch that perhaps he could he could kind of get into that. And I said, "Okay, this is what I want you to do. Every day when we come to this class, it is my job to tell the students to turn off their cell phones and put them away, because they can't remember to do that. But it's my job to tell them, and it's their job to do it. Otherwise, it's like teaching in a shooting gallery. I got over 200 people in this class. And so I said, what I want you to do is 15 minutes into my lecture, I want you to make your cell phone go off. And I'm going to come after you. And I don't want you to back off. And I want us to try to convince the class that we are on the verge of getting into a physical altercation." He says, "Okay." So I'm teaching my class along, and about 15 minutes into the class, he makes his cell phone go off. And I look up, and there's a little tittering around the class, kind of nervous laughter, and I kind of smile, and I slam my Bible shut. I start walking right towards him, and I said, "Whose cell phone was that? Was that your cell phone?" He says, "Yeah." And I said, "What was there about the words, 'turn off your cell phone,' that you didn't understand? After all, they're all one-syllable words. Even you should have been able to get that." Or maybe what you thought I meant was, I want 199 of you to turn your cell phones off, but you, by all means, please leave yours on so it'll interrupt my lecture. Maybe you thought that's what I meant. And he was great. He looked at me, and he did smile, and he said, "What's your problem?" And I said, "Right now, you are." And he said, "I can take care of that for you." And he gathers up his stuff and starts to walk out of the room. And I said, "Freeze." I said, "The next step you take had better be towards me." And he walks up and stops right here. And I am telling you now, you can hear a pin drop. I have 200 freshmen and 10 teaching assistants who think they are getting ready to see a fight. In fact, one of my TAs told me he's got an international student in his group who still doesn't know what went on. I put my arm around the student, we look at the class, and I say, "Gotcha." And they did not break out into laughter because they were so nervous and uptight, no one could laugh. I promise you, it was 5 minutes before they relaxed enough to see how funny this was. And so once they're kind of breathing again, I said, why did you believe that? Have I done anything in the last 6 weeks that would suggest to you that I would respond that way? And of course the answer is simple. The reason they believed it is this. The whole world is crazy. That's why they believed it. Because that's the way people react all the time. And that's what they expect. You know, I really love that YouTube picked Mike Gundy as their man of the year. Mike Gundy is the Oklahoma State football coach who had that famous meltdown in a news conference where he was attacking a reporter who he thought had written derogatory things about one of his players and that he didn't deserve that, and he was screaming and yelling. There's been all this debate about whether he was right or wrong protecting his player, but the debate completely misses the point. The point is this: he's crazy. And aren't you glad that nobody's walking around behind you with a microphone? Nobody knows how crazy you are too. Okay. Jesus says, if you want to address the violence problem, what you have to address is an anger problem. We've got to have a remaking of heart here that keeps us from being so angry. Aren't you tired of being angry? You know, it's a lot of work and energy to be angry. And Jesus calls us to this sick, bad goodness that says not only are we not going to engage in violence, we're not going to be angry. How do you do that? You know, I don't know. My friend Steve Weathers has helped me somewhat with this. Steve is an English professor on our faculty, and he's great with an obscure story. And he introduced me to a story I went and researched. It's the story of Alligator Man and Monkey Girl. Alligator Man and Monkey Girl in a different era would be called sideshow freaks. That's no longer politically correct, but that's the way they made their living. They were sideshow freaks at Coney Island, as I recall. Alligator Man has reptilian skin all over him. Monkey Girl has long silky hair, including on her face. And Alligator Man and Monkey Girl fall in love with each other. And Monkey Girl's parents aren't entirely delighted about this. They think she's getting ready to marry beneath herself. But lo and behold, they fall in love and get married. And apparently live kind of happily ever after. It's kind of a sweet story in a Stephen Kingish kind of way. And Dr. Weathers, in his way, then kind of explores the rest of the story, and he wonders, what do Monkey Girl and Alligator Man say to each other when they are in a knockdown, drag-out fight? Do you think Alligator Man ever looks at her and says, I can't believe I married a freak like you? And then catches his own reflection in the mirror as he's leaving the room. See you later. Dr. Weathers says, you know, they may do that, but I doubt it. And I wonder if the anger starts to dissipate once we come to understand we're all freaks of nature. And when we come to understand our own sinful and fallen nature and God's relentless love for us in Jesus Christ, despite that, it empowers us to love other people in a way that we never could before. And we quit being quite so angry because, except for the grace of God, there go I. I was riding back in the car from our senior blessing, and I had several students with me, and we got to talking about one of the students who was at senior blessing who is extremely difficult and needy. And it was interesting, they were talking about it and they were laughing, but it wasn't cruel laughter. It was exactly the same sort of laughter they reserved for me